but a member of the Chicago Sky, the national title winner at LSU. And she talked about where all this attention started with her and Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese spoke to the media. She didn't speak to the media after the game against Caitlin Clark.
Angel Reese's career just hit rock bottom. The Chicago Sky sued her for steroid use, and now she's suspended. But here's the kicker. Her stats were terrible, even with the alleged performance booster. We're talking about numbers so bad, they're calling them a joke in the league. Let's put this in perspective. While Reese was struggling on and off the court, Caitlin Clark was averaging 20 points per game and breaking assist records. It's like watching two different sports. How did Reese go from being the next big thing to the biggest disappointment in the WNBA? Stick around, because we're diving deep into this mess. Remember when Angel Reese was the talk of the WNBA? She burst onto the scene like a supernova, leaving everyone slack-jawed. This rookie wasn't just good, she was rewriting the record books.
Reese started with, "I'm heartbroken. I'm literally lost for words, knowing what this woman meant to me in such a pivotal point in my life. She was the only person," which is interesting since she's been coached before. We also have talked, even on this channel, about Angel's very dramatic response to that. And unfortunately, it seems like, according to some new reports, that relationship cost her her job.
Reese was putting up numbers that made seasoned vets look like they were playing in slow motion. We're talking double-doubles night after night, blocks that sent balls into the nosebleed seats, and rebounds that defied gravity. But here's where things get wild. Reese wasn't just dominating on the court, she was raking in endorsement deals like they were going out of style. Nike, Gatorade, you name it. Everyone wanted a piece of the Angel Reese pie. She was the face of the league faster than you could say rookie sensation. Fans couldn't get enough of her. Jerseys were flying off the shelf, and it seemed like the sky was the limit for this rising star. But you know how they say if something seems too good to be true, it probably is? Well, that's when people started raising eyebrows. Reese's stats weren't just impressive, they were off the charts. Even for a top rookie, these numbers were insane. People started whispering in the stands, in the locker rooms, and on social media. Was she really that good, or was there something fishy going on?
That she was sacrificing Camila Cardoso for the streak, that she had lost the dressing room because of her insisting on running through Angel Reese when she was their least efficient offensive player. So a lot of people rumored throughout the season that like Teresa Weatherspoon was sacrificing wins to get Angel Reese her double-double streak. And I called BS on all that. And a recent report says that might be true.
Then, boom! The news drops like a bombshell. Angel Reese tests positive for EPO and anabolic steroids. It's like the whole basketball world collectively gasped. The Chicago Sky didn't waste a second. They suspended her faster than you can say drug test. Just like that, Reese's dream season turned into a full-blown nightmare. But you know what's even crazier? Even with the alleged performance enhancers, Reese's stats were still terrible. We're talking airballs, turnovers, and more time warming the bench than actually playing. It's like she took steroids to become mediocre. How does that even happen? Now, everyone's scratching their head, trying to make sense of it all. Was Angel Reese ever actually good, or was this whole thing just smoke and mirrors?
But they saw what was going on with Angel Reese and how committed, for lack of a better word, Teresa Weatherspoon was to Angel Reese and this ridiculous foe. It's gonna cause some serious dysfunction because, let's be for real, every team wants to believe in the coach, etc. But teammates and your team has eyes. They can see what we can see. They may not get in front of the microphone and say it. She's with the Chicago Sun-Times, and she recently reported that Weatherspoon was tailoring the Sky's game around one or two players, led to some serious dysfunction inside the locker.
Did we all buy into a hype machine that was running on fumes from the start? It's like finding out your favorite magician was using strings all along. You feel a little cheated, a little foolish, and a whole lot confused. While fans were feeling foolish, Reese was doubling down on her image. She thought playing the villain would keep her on top. But what happens when the villain becomes too real? Reese was about to find out the hard way. You know how some players just love being the bad guy? Well, Angel Reese thought she had that game on lock. She wasn't just trying to be good at basketball. She was going all in on being the WNBA's biggest villain.
She wins the national title. First thing she does, she mocks Caitlin Clark. And then she doesn't even celebrate with her teammates. So she's made it personal with Caitlin Clark. Couple of words, I would have been fine with it. She's embraced the villain. She understands social media. She's done quite well. But her attention, her notoriety is based off Caitlin Clark.
We're talking trash talk that would make your grandma blush, getting in people's faces like personal space wasn't a thing, an attitude for days. Reese was serving drama on and off the court, and at first, people were eating it up like it was the last slice of pizza. Let's break it down. Reese was all over social media, clapping back at haters, starting beef with other players, and just generally stirring the pot. The fans? They were going wild. It was like watching a reality TV show, but with more dribbling and less fake tan. Sponsorships were rolling in, her jersey sales were through the roof, and everyone was talking about Angel Reese. She was the villain people loved to hate, and she was loving every second of it. But here's where things get messy. You know how they say there's no such thing as bad publicity? Well, Reese was about to prove that wrong.
WNBA has been around a couple of decades, and people didn't notice the game. They're noticing it now. Well, that's because of Caitlin Clark, not Angel Reese. Angel Reese has played a role in this, and she's a very good player. What event Tiger was playing you were going to watch, they're still trying to capitalize on him. Playing in the U.S. Open. NBC and Peacock, their graphic has Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and then who's looming larger on the screen but Tiger. But there's nothing about her game that's really interesting that is going to translate to people who may not watch the WNBA.
The more she leaned into this bad girl image, the more people started to get sick of it. It's like when you eat too much candy. At first it's amazing, but then you just feel kind of gross. Fans started rolling their eyes instead of cheering. Other players weren't finding it cute anymore. Even her own teammates were starting to look at her sideways. And then boom, the steroid scandal hits. And suddenly, that villain persona isn't so fun anymore. It's like Reese accidentally flipped a switch from lovable troublemaker to actual problem. All those trash-talking videos, they're being used against her. The attitude that used to be her trademark, now it's just fuel for the haters.
It's Caitlin Clark. Now, do I think it was assault, as the Chicago Tribune said? No, it was not. She is a social media star, and she has capitalized on that. And maybe she embraces being the villain. But make no mistake about it, Caitlin Clark is the reason why everybody has an opinion on what happened in that game. It was a hard foul. It's wrong. You don't need it in the game. And there's a lot of things that came out of that. People bringing in race.
It's like she built this whole character, and now it's turned around and bitten her in the butt. You gotta wonder, did Reese take it too far? Or did she just not know when to turn it off? Either way, she's learning a tough lesson. Sometimes being the bad guy isn't all it's cracked up to be, especially when you're not backing it up on the court. It's one thing to talk smack when you're dropping 30 points a game. It's another when you're barely making it off the bench. Steroids or no steroids? Speaking of backing it up on the court, the Chicago Sky can't even get that far. They're drowning in a sea of problems. And Reese's steroid scandal? That's just the tip of the iceberg. What could possibly be worse than a suspended star player? Let's talk about the Chicago Sky's dumpster fire of a season. Even before Reese's scandal hit, they were struggling harder than a one-legged cat trying to bury poop on a frozen lake. Their record was abysmal. Ticket sales were plummeted, and fans were starting to forget they even had a team in Chicago. It was bad, folks. Real bad. But now, it's like someone took that dumpster fire and dumped a tanker of gasoline on it. They've got a suspended star player, a reputation that's more tainted than week-old sushi, and a fan base that's gone from disappointed to downright furious. The locker room? It's a mess. Players are side-eyeing each other, wondering who's clean and who's not. Trust is out the window faster than a rookie's first paycheck. So what exactly was Reese accused of using? We're talking EPO and anabolic steroids here. EPO boosts red blood cell production, giving athletes more endurance. Anabolic steroids, they build muscle mass and strength. It's serious stuff, people. We're not talking about popping a few extra vitamins here. This is the kind of thing that can end careers and tarnish legacy. But wait, it gets worse. There are whispers, and I mean the kind of whispers that turn into screams real quick. That coach Teresa Weatherspoon might have known about the steroid. Can you imagine? If that's true, we're not just talking about a player scandal anymore. We're talking about a full-blown organizational meltdown. The Sky are in full panic mode, trying to do damage control. They're holding press conferences, issuing statements statements, probably sacrificing chickens in the locker room, anything to try and salvage what's left of their reputation. But here's the thing, it might be too late. When you've got a scandal this big, with tentacles reaching from the court all the way up to the coach's office, it's not something you can just sweep under the rug. While the Sky are drowning in scandal, another player is soaring to new heights. Caitlin Clark is breaking records left and right, and fans can't get enough. But here's the kicker. How does Clark's success make Reese's fall from grace look even worse? Let's talk about Caitlin Clark for a second. This girl is on fire. She's out here making the rest of the league look like they're playing in slow motion. While Reese is busy trying to explain away her steroid use, Clark is busy filling up stat sheets like it's nobody's business. We're talking 20 points a game, assists that'll make your head spin, and a work ethic that's got everyone talking. But it's not just about the numbers with Clark. This girl's got charisma for days. Fans are eating it up like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. They're showing up to games wearing her jersey, screaming her name, and probably naming their firstborns after her. It's like watching a real-life basketball fairy tale unfold right before our eyes. Now, let's put this in perspective. While Clark is out there looking like a basketball goddess, Reese's, well, let's just say she's seen better days. Even with those alleged performance enhancers, Reese's stats were about as impressive as a wet firecracker. We're talking single-digit scoring averages, more turnovers than a bakery, and enough air balls to inflate a bounce house. It's like she took steroids to become mediocre. How does that even happen? The contrast between these two couldn't be more stark if you painted it black and white. Clark's over here breaking records without breaking a sweat or any rule, while Reese is breaking, well, just about everything else. It's like watching two different movies play out in real time. One's a feel-good sports drama, the other's a cautionary tale that'll probably end up on an after-school special. But here's the million-dollar question. Will Reese ever be able to compete with Clark again, or is her career deader than disco? It's not looking good, folk. Even if Reese manages to shake off this scandal and get back on the court, she's got a mountain to climb, and that mountain's name is Caitlin Clark. All right, let's wrap this up. Angel Reese's fall from grace, it's not just about her. This scandal's shaking up the whole WNBA like a snow globe. We're talking about a league-wide earthquake here. Think about it. How are we gonna look at stats and records now? Every time a player puts up crazy numbers, people are gonna wonder if it's skill or something else. And drug testing? You better believe that's gonna get cranked up to 11. The WNBA's never gonna be the same after this mess. It's like someone flipped the script on the whole league. We're in uncharted territory now, folks. The game's changed on and off the court. Buckle up, because it's gonna be a wild ride from here on out.